Hey guys, welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. I'm Scott Toy Guru Neitlich, and well, we talk about pop culture, we talk about toys and video games, and movies and other such stuff. And why not talk about Snow White? Okay, there's like a gazillion videos about what's going on with Snow White, right? We all know that it bombed horrendously, and that Rachel Zelger can't even pronounce her last name, thinks that it's a huge win. What I'm not seeing, a big thing I like to do on this channel is do videos that I'm basically why is there no video about this? No one has really discussed how the movie was shot twice, right? I think we all kind of know that they shot the movie and then they completely reshot the movie, and the idea that it was only 250 million, no, double that, and then double that again, and then double it, and then you lose everything. No, I mean it is closer to half a billion. It's probably a $500 million movie because the 250 million they spent was before they reshot it and before they added CGI dwarves, and that's actually the key to everything, the dwarves. So what I want to do in this video is deconstruct the film in the sense of what what was the original film that was shot, and then what was the new film that was shot, and then what we got was that those two movies stitched together. Um, I think I'm fascinated by this. I was a film major in for my undergraduate, back in the day, and there's a lot of movies that have alternate versions, right? I mean, you know, Star Wars Special Edition, famous for having extra stuff shoved in. Um, Another example, I think the polar extreme would be uh, The Blue Angel with Marlene Dietrich, one of my favorite early sound movies. I know, crazy that I have like a category of early sound movies that I like, but again, that's what happens when you're a film major and you watch all this stuff for 4 years. The Blue Angel was literally shot twice on set, first in English and then in German, so that they could release it in both countries. So that's obviously different from what happened with Snow White. With Snow White, they filmed an entire movie, including the ending. Then, from a backlash and from the public, from Peter Dinklage, and especially from test audiences, they decided they needed to reshoot the whole thing. And I think that a lot of people have gotten caught up in the whole woke aspect. That's definitely part of it, but really, again, it comes down to the dwarves. So everyone remembers that leaked photo, right? The one of the seven magical creatures of different ethnicities and sexes and genders and heights and skin colors walking in a field. And we were being told that these were, instead of seven dwarves, it was seven magical creatures. So that really is the key right there, is the fact that, so these seven magical creatures turned out to be the bandits, or at least that's the way they edited it together. And you can definitely tell, it's like she's with the dwarves, and then suddenly she's like, okay, now I'm going to go find another group of people, the bandits, because essentially that was the original film. And take out the dwarves, right? First, and basically take out the ending. So the seven magical creatures, or the seven thieves, or whatever I guess they wind up being, and Jonathan, the head thief that has replaced the prince. So essentially, when that image leaked, I think a lot of people jumped to the whole like, oh, the whole casting of little people, or is it okay to even have a movie called Snow White and the Seven Dwarves? But really, it was the fact that they made it without the dwarves, and everyone knows it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. I mean, especially the Disney version. I mean, that's literally what built Disney. So that's really what was the key. It was the fact that they made the movie. They made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs without dwarves. And then in order to add the dwarves, they had to sort of shove them in. And they kept the bandits, or the thieves, or whatever it is. And that's where the sort of disjunctive narrative comes from, where it feels like you're watching two different movies, because they after the backlash from the public, from Disney lovers who felt like, oh my God, you're making Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs without the dwarves. That's like making, Gone with the Wind without the wind. And so Disney, they put the dwarves in, and that it didn't fit it basically, but they kept, like I said, they kept the bandit. So it's like they had two sets of seven characters that were essentially the same function within the narrative structure, but when you don't need both. They really, what they should have, they were, if they were putting the dwarves in, they should have taken the bandits out entirely. That's kind of the point I'm getting at. The second thing that we can deconstruct, both from interviews that both Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler gave, we know that the original version that was shot had no poison apple, had no Snow White falling asleep. There was actually a giant battle. A lot of people are like, the ending made no sense. Just sort of ended. And that's because that was part of the reshoots. The reshoots were the dwarves and the ending. And so the original ending was, the Lord of the Rings style, Game of Thrones medieval battle that Snow White was going to lead like Joan of Arc. And again, Disney, fans, I think were right saying, well, wait a minute, like you're remaking, that's not Snow White. That's a completely different movie altogether. So so they basically re-added in the apple. They re-added in the coma, the sleep, and the making Jonathan the role of the prince, waking her up with the kiss, which we know was not in the original version that was shot, because both Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler have said in interviews that, oh, yep, nope, that weird interview she did, Gal Gadot says, yeah, there's no prince saving the day. There's no apple. Like, they discussed that. And this was back in 2023 when the movie was only shot once. So that's basically what it was. So dwarves shoved into the movie. And, you can really tell that from the ending, the big white number where they're all wearing white. There's like one shot of the dwarves clearly just edited in, but they obviously were not there. That was part of the reshoots. So yeah, anything with dwarves is a reshoot, and the entire ending was just literally scrapped and thrown out, and the whole battle gone. That's where a lot of the money went too. Was that's in most movies, the money goes to the final battle, right? Endgame, and any superhero movie, Star Wars movie, the big end battle is where you're going to spend all your money. So yeah, they spent a lot of money on a huge scene, and not scene, but the almost third act that just completely got thrown out. So that's kind of deconstructing Snow White and looking at the two versions that were filmed. The first one, basically, same opening, same beginning, but there's no dwarves. She just goes and finds the bandits. And then the second version that they shot, they added in dwarves, and they reshot the third act. And there you go. That's those are all the changes. And I think we have the Disney fans to thank, because Disney fans are right. Like, if they wanted to make the first movie they shot, they should have just made, a brand new princess and just made an action adventure movie. So yeah, let's just be glad that when the queen is sucked into the magic mirror at the end, it doesn't reveal the Disney princess multiverse, which was also slightly discussed. I'll probably do a video on that too. But yeah, there was definitely an original version of that where getting sucked into the mirror there was going to be an end credit scene where inside the mirror there's other Disney villains and setting up a potential Disney villain live ad, but they threw that out completely because they're like, we're so far down the hole, we're not even going to touch that. That scene is on the cutting room, not even, probably burned. All right, enough of this. So I hope that explained things. I hope this was an interesting perspective. I know there's a lot of Snow White videos, but I hope this one was original and informative. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. It's the best way to support the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.